Thorn, and today we're in the Seed to Bloom Botanical Garden at Central State University. I work with Extension in the Agriculture and Natural Resource Program area, and today we're going to talk about watersheds. So what is a watershed? Basically, it's an area of land that we all live, shop, and play, that the water drains to larger river systems, eventually that leads to the ocean. So let's talk about one of those communities now, like the places we live. We have homes in a neighborhood that some of us may live in. Might live more in the city, in apartments or condos, that we spend time with our families. In these communities that we live, we may have pets, we have cars, and how we use this land, we may use it also to garden in our own backyards, to grow our fruits and vegetables or flowers. So let's talk about places where we may work. Some of us may work for an industry. It could be where cars are manufactured, it could be where tools are manufactured, where wood is processed. And these industries are great to have within our watershed because we all need places of employment. So, where do we get our wood from to build our homes, to build our furniture? Well, we look to our forested areas. And sometimes there's a management plan that should be in place as how much wood can be harvested at any given time to prevent mudslides and other natural disasters because there aren't the trees, roots to hold the soil in place. So another area within our watershed is what we call agriculture. That is where maybe a farmer lives. He might have livestock, he or she may have livestock. But they may cultivate the land for growing crops such as beans, corn, the vegetables that we eat, tomatoes, green beans. And that farmer will sell produces to make his living. Many of us like to golf, and so those golfers like to see that green, lush golf tee where they're going to hit the ball to the tee. So the golf manager, he's going to make certain that those greens are well fertilized. Well, let's go back to the farmer though. He's growing plants now. Do you think he might run into some other problems? What about pest crops? Okay, so he or she will be applying pesticides to control whether they're grasshoppers or if they're the brown marmorated stink bugs, cutworms. Again, the farmer's idea is to make a profit from what he's growing. So even in our homes, we might apply pesticides to help control. We have dogs, we might want to control the fleas. We have grubs in our lawn. We want to apply some pesticides to help control those pests. Thinking about that golf course, they may have grubs too. So that golf manager, he's going to make certain that pesticides are going to be applied so that the golfers can enjoy that nice, lush, green tee. Anything else you think? What about herbicides? is an herbicide? An herbicide helps control weeds that we don't want growing, in the case of the farmer, in his crops. Where the manager doesn't want dandelions growing. And even at home, some of us don't like those dandelions or other weeds. So we'll apply a pesticide to help control those weeds. Earlier we talked about new construction, and while some of that drifted over, that's another situation altogether, but that the loose soil may drift into our waterways. With those pets, they have to go to the bathroom unless they're potty trained to go inside. Even cats will use outside to go to the bathroom. So we have some of our animal waste that, if we don't pick up, could run off into our waterways. If our cars aren't properly maintained, they may leave traces of oil behind. So that's why it's important to maintain our cars. Gasoline spills as well when you're at the gas station and filling up, if you're not overflowing your tank. And our industries sometimes will put some of their waste product from their factory directly in to a drainage area. And of course we talked about our wastewater treatment plant. That's where they're collecting all our water. And so the sludge that builds up there could overflow into our waterways if not properly maintained. So these are things that we put on the ground when it's warm seasons. What about when it's winter? Do we apply any kind of chemical to our roadways? What about salt in the winter months to make our roadways safer to drive? Because we had snow. Sometimes they'll pre-treat the roads before the snows come, and then they have to treat them afterwards. So we're having not snow just on the roads, we're having it on our parking lots. But for us humans to endure the conditions of winter, we need to keep the roads safe. Sometimes humans, that's us, how we impact the waterways. We'll throw trash out the window of our car, which may end up in our waterways. Today you can see it's kind of a windy day, so the wind is helping blow that trash further out into our watershed. But these are all events that can impact our waterways. So let's see what happens when we have a gentle rain. What's happening to all those herbicides if we didn't apply them at the right? Or what if we apply apply them right before the rain. That's not a real good time. So you have to pay attention to when you're treating your grounds. And so now let's take a look at the area where we like to go fishing. Or swimming, or boating. That's just with the gentle rain. What happens if we have a heavy downpour? Where do all those chemicals that we've used end up? As you can see, our higher points of elevation are going to drain down to a lower elevation, and that is where our water is going to accumulate. My question is, would you like to fish in that water? Would you like to swim in? Would you like to boat in it? Probably not so much. So the point I'm making today is that whatever we put on our ground surfaces, if we're not using the right timing and the right amount of herbicides or pesticides or fertilizers, we run the risk of all of that going into our waterways. So, what can we do to prevent some of this? So one thing we need to talk about before we talk about how we can prevent some runoff, let's talk about the terminology. So where everyone contributes with fertilizers or pesticides and herbicides, we can't simply just say, oh, it was them, because we really don't know where that source of pollution is coming from. Whereas with the industry, when they were releasing directly into a waterway, we could see that that factory was directly dumping into the waterway. That is called point source pollution. But with the farmer, with the golf course, with the housing area, even with our roadways, that again is called non-point source pollution. We can't simply just point at the culprit or the company or the person who's doing it, unless, well, of course, we catch someone dumping it directly into the drain. But here at the industry, there are now practices put in place to where they can't directly dump their waste product into a waterway, so this is a bit of an exaggeration. But there are some things that we can do to help prevent that runoff. The farmer could put up some fencing to keep his livestock from entering the streamways. He can also build a berm along his land that meets the water's edge, which would slow the process of that water flowing directly to that water source. And even in our homes, we can build something called a rain garden, so that the lowest portion of our land can help catch some of that water runoff with plants that love wet feet, and that will help reduce the amount of runoff into our waterways. So, the most important thing to take away from today's activity is what a watershed is. And basically, it's an area of land where we all work, live, and play that drains into a body of water, which eventually will end up into the ocean. And that we can all take steps to help reduce that impact. Even as homeowners, like myself, I don't really use those pesticides and fertilizers, but I do have dogs. So I have to practice pooper scooping to help prevent that from running into our waterways. So no matter how old you are, what your job is, if you're in school, if you're an adult, we all have a role to play in protecting our water resources. I want to thank you for today. I've enjoyed spending some time with you, and I hope that you will come to the Seed to Bloom Botanical Garden here at Central State University. Close drive from Xenia, Ohio, and Wilberforce, Cedarville, and Fairborn. So come, enjoy your garden. Thanks.